bring you all of those updates. But we move on now, and a long-running border dispute between Thailand and Cambodia erupted into intense fighting with jets, artillery, tanks and ground troops. Following this, a Thailand military border command declared martial law now in 8 districts on the frontier with Cambodia, citing Cambodia's use of force to enter Thai territory. More than 138,000 people have been evacuated from Thailand's border region as per reports. At least 15 people have been killed and a soldier has also lost his life in the clashes. As the tensions rise, the UN Security Council is set to hold an emergency meeting on the crisis. Well, with us to join us, apologies, we will be moving on. And European delegations have departed the Iranian consulate in Istanbul after holding details on talks on the 2015 nuclear deal. Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Gharibabadi said both sides presented specific ideas and held a serious, frank discussion. He reiterated Iran's opposition to the snapback mechanism and confirmed that consultations will continue. In the meeting, Iran pushed back on calls to extend the UN resolution that underpins the 2015 deal. The current resolution expires on October the 18th, lifting all UN sanctions. Useless snapback is triggered by mid-September. Meanwhile, the E3, consisting of France, Germany and the UK, have set an end of August deadline to revive diplomacy. They seek Iran's commitments on talks with the US, full cooperation with the UN's International Atomic Energy Agency, and explanations regarding 400 kilograms of highly enriched uranium, whose whereabouts are unknown following last month's strikes. Well, with us is a guest. We have Dr. Hamidreza Golomadze, who is the director of the Diplo House, joining us live from Tehran. Thank you ever so much for being here with us, Hamidreza. Let's look at these diplomatic talks, of course ongoing in the midst of heightened tensions following the 12-day war, with Israeli action and then also American military action. What's the significance for Iran of these talks after, of course, Iran was already involved with talks with the US and then Israel carried out their strikes as they did?
Thank you very much for having me. The most important thing is that we have only less than 3 months up to the end of the JCPOA, in which it was supposed to remove all the UN sanctions and all the resolutions which were against Iran. But now the Europeans are trying to keep that threat by keeping this leverage alive, because it is the only weapon that they have against Iran. So in order to have a political leverage against Iran, to put pressure on that, they are trying to keep the threat and keep the leverage of the snapback mechanism. So by threatening to actually activating the mechanism, they are trying to take some advantage from Iranian side. So the other side of the story, which is Iran is arguing that the Europeans are not entitled to the right to use the snapback mechanism because within the JCPOA, in which the resolution 2231 has dedicated this part to a snapback mechanism, has asked the Europeans to fulfill their commitments of reducing the sanctions and helping Iran to benefit economically from the JCPOA, and they did not do that. So since they have not fulfilled their commitments, they are not entitled to use the and benefit from the snapback mechanism within the contract and within the deal. So it is some legal arguments. The other argument is that according to the resolution 2231, if the snapback.
Yes, well, while we work to get Hamidreza back, of course, the context of this situation is difficult, and the situation surrounding a potential new nuclear deal is a topic of contention, of course. Well, Hamad Reza, we do have you back now. Sorry to cut you off there. We had some signal issues, but very briefly before we move on, I want to look at this deadline coming up in October for this initial nuclear deal that was signed in 2015. We know that that deal took unification and effort from multiple different countries: China, Russia, European nations, the US, Iran as well. That took years to get that deal done. Has it been left too late? Because we know this deadline is coming up. Steve Witkoff, who before becoming the Middle East envoy didn't have any diplomatic background, he was in charge of getting this deal done between the US and Iran. So does this really now need a multinational effort to try and get a deal over the line in which every party can be happy with the resolution and avoid a further conflict like we saw in June?
So what we have is the scene is like that. The Americans that have admitted that they used negotiations as means of deception in order to bring Iran to war. So that's the American side, and Mr. Witkoff and the Trump administration. The Russians and the Chinese are against a snapback mechanism triggered by the Europeans because they have this legal argument that they are not entitled to that. And there remains the Europeans who are playing to the playbook of the Americans by politicizing the JCPOA, and they are using this leverage as the only political leverage that they have. If the deal is finished and the snapback mechanism is terminated, they don't have any other political leverage against Iran. So in order to keep this leverage and in order to keep the place in the international scene of the play with Iran, they need to keep this. So the only cause that they are saying, all the things that they say that we are giving the end of August deadline for Iran to have negotiations with the Americans, is not for keeping the deal alive, is not for keeping the JCPOA activated until the end of the story, which is about mid-October. They want to put pressure on Iran in order to force Iran into having some negotiations and deals with the Americans, which includes zero enrichment, which includes missile program, which includes regional issues. And they know that Iran is not going to accept that because these are the red lines of Iran. Iran is not going to give up its nuclear enrichment right. Iran is not going to discuss its missile capabilities, which is its defensive capability, and is not going to discuss region with anyone else. So they are politicizing the situation in order to benefit from that and in order to actually butter up the Americans and to make a Trump administration happy with the service that they're paying to the Americans by killing the JCPOA.
Dr. Hamad Reza.